architectural systems, and building construction.
Fire stopping through and membrane fire protection.
CBC Section 1705A.17 requires periodic special inspection of fire-resistant penetrations and joints for high-rise buildings, buildings assigned to risk category 3, such as schools, and buildings assigned to risk category 4, such as essential services buildings. The project inspector has been deemed by knowledge and experience by DSA to perform the special inspection for fire stop systems. Project inspectors may provide these special inspections. Proper inspection is essential. System failure is often due to improper installation. There are two main types of fire stopping systems that we will encounter. Those for penetrations, through and membranes, and joint systems. While the CBC again requires periodic inspection of fire stop assemblies, as stated earlier, DSA has deemed the project inspectors may perform these required special inspections when deemed capable. This reference is in California Administrative Code, Section 4-333B8. All special inspection and inspection practices are to be performed per ASTM E2174 and ASTM E2393. Remember that fire stop systems are unique and that it is again extremely important that they be installed in accordance with their listing and manufacturer's instructions. Only UL approved systems, or I should say, systems approved by a nationally recognized testing laboratory, such as UL, Warnock, Hershey, Intertank, etc., tested and certified code compliant are permitted. The UL systems are those most commonly referenced on DSA approved drawings. These listed systems serve two functions. They reflect compliance with specific testing standards, and they document inspection requirements. Installation fully complies with details of each listed system. This is critical. Why? Because deviations can severely compromise effectiveness of the fire stop system. As part of the project inspector's work, you want to verify compliance with the listing and that it includes the barrier type, the barrier rating, the hole size or penetration parameters, size and shape. This will also include the annular space requirements, both maximum and minimum dimensions. It'll identify penetrating items, the material type, pipe, insulation, etc., the type, size, and configuration, the type of fill material and other accessories. Verify the bond depth of all sealants. Multiple products are used on job sites. Do not mix the products.
When inspecting fire stop systems, the inspector should note that destructive sampling or inspection may be required. All systems are identified from a nationally recognized testing lab, and they use their own unique numbering systems. Systems from underwriters' laboratories are most commonly referenced on drawings. Let's take a look at an example of UL WL3132. The first alphabetical component identifies that building element being penetrated. Using their agenda, F stands for floor, W for wall, and C for floor or wall. So in our example, we can note right off the bat that since the W is shown, this is for a wall assembly. The second alphabetical component can be any letter A through Z, and this identifies that penetrated item. Let's take a look at the next slide. Here are the alphabetical characters used for the second letter. As you can see, A through Z. Some are not used. A, concrete floors. B stands for concrete floors with a minimum thickness greater than 5 inches, and so on and so on. Given that in our example we're using an L, that L obviously indicates a framed wall, as can be seen on this schedule. Lastly, we come to the numerical characters, 3132. As shown on this UL descriptor, 3132 falls within the 3000 to 3999 section. This assembly pertains to a penetrating item, the electrical cables.
This is an example of WL 3132. Note that the information identifies the wall assembly, be it 1 or 2 hour gypsum wall. It identifies the type of studs and the type of gypsum board to be used. It identifies a steel sleeve, nominal 4-inch in diameter is provided, the type of cables that may penetrate this item, and the fill, void, or cavity materials that may be used. Let's look at some pictures from installed fire systems. The fire stopping thickness must match the specifications and listings. Fire stopping must be continuous. Remember, no breaks or voids. Insulation foams cannot be used as a substitute for filling gaps or providing filler backing for fire stop materials unless specifically listed for the application. When viewing fire stop penetration systems, verify the integrity of rated wall and ceiling assemblies has been maintained. No breaches. In these pictures, the attic was of rated ceiling assembly construction. One of the electrical installers took a wrong step and caved in the attic portion of the assembly. This has jeopardized the integrity of the rating. No apparent fire stop caulking is on the attic side of the assembly. Sometimes contractors only apply the rated material so that it may be viewed from the floor. So the project inspector should include a trip to the attic, which should show things in a very revealing manner where faults or lack of proper installation have occurred. Any patches to damage must be through an approved system, and the penetrations must remain sealed. Patches must go from stud to stud. It is not appropriate just to install drywall mud around such voids. Penetration fire stops in 2016 CBC 1705-17.1 states, inspection of penetration fire stop systems that are tested and listed in accordance with sections 714.1.2 and 714.4.2 shall be conducted by an approved agency in accordance with ASTM E2174. Penetrations for junction boxes and walls. Fire stop putty must be approved for the installation that is and against the materials, be they plastic or metal. 2019 CBC section 714.4 for fire resistance rated walls and 714.5 for penetrations of horizontal assemblies. Remember when installing boxes that it must be a 24-inch minimum horizontal separation required for membrane penetrations on opposite sides of the wall. and protection of the assembly must be appropriate for the penetrating material and type of construction. When installing putties on the back of boxes, ensure that the box and surrounding area is free from dirt and debris that will prevent the putty from adhering properly. Here's some examples of what code calls for. Notice that the fire stop material is being properly troweled into the void, and that bags have been installed at this cable tray penetration. This is a clean installation. However, this is what we often receive. Sloppy work could be an indication of poor installation and incomplete installation. In the lower left picture, note that it appears that the fire stop material is being used to cover more than the prescribed gap from the penetrating item. Poor planning and lack of attention to detail, certainly not in a neat and workmanlike manner. Construction such as this is suspect, and the project inspector should exercise caution and be very thorough. Here's another picture. Can you identify what's wrong? Verify the hourly rating of the caulking. Note that there is no standard color for fire caulking. The project inspector must verify that the fire stop material listing sheet for the product is compatible with that which has been used. Here are some more examples. Incomplete installation of fire caulking at the penetrations through the walls and at the base of the floor. More fun. Looks like we have the squiggle in the upper left where the contractor couldn't get to the void. Just shooting caulk up against the opening does not seal the penetration. Most listed assemblies will require that the fire stop material must be troweled into the opening, not just slapped up against it. This fume hood was installed in a rated wall. In the specs and on the plans, it was shown as a one-sided fume hood. However, a two-sided fume hood has been installed. This has jeopardized the rating of the fire barrier wall. Joint systems include that at a curtain wall. Exterior curtain wall, fire resistance, and rated floor assemblies must be protected. This is to prevent smoke, heat, and toxic gases from passing from lower floors to upper floors. Remember, it is the smoke that often kills the occupants of the building, not the fire itself. So protection of these types of joints is critical. Must have an approved material, must be of an approved design. It must have an L rating for air leakage that complies with UL 1479 or UL 2079. And most of all, it must prohibit flame, smoke, and gases from penetrating the curtain wall joint. Please refer to Inspection Manual subsection 2C. Remember that an approved material capable of resisting this spread of fire and hot gases must be installed in open spaces that occur at the intersection of an exterior wall and a non-fire resistance rated floor assembly. There are many listed designs for this application for rated horizontal assemblies. However, oftentimes an engineering judgment may be submitted. An engineering judgment is only allowed if there aren't listed designs for a specific application. Improper construction is not a reason to utilize an engineering judgment when there is a reliable fix. 2016 CBC section 714.4.4 says that penetrations and smoke barriers shall be protected by an approved through penetration fire stop system, installed and tested in accordance with the requirements of UL 1479 for air leakage. This is why the L rating of the system is provided. In this joint system at the slab edge, note that the fire stopping width shall not exceed 4 inches unless tested and listed for wider gaps. Keep in mind that the gap dimension may also be limited by the tested assembly chosen by the architect. At no time must this gap exceed the capabilities of the fire stop system.